right, let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a little bit. Look, this is a Bucs team that's quietly one of the better positioned teams, not just in the NFC South, but frankly in the NFC. They've got a good quarterback who proved himself last year at Baker Mayfield. They obviously have a lot of veteran playmakers on offense and some young additions as well. But it looks like the Buccaneers potentially may have pulled off one of the bigger steals of the entire offseason by picking a guy from a literally unknown destination and adding him as a new playmaker. Let's get into this report, then we'll talk about it on the other side. This is courtesy of Fox Sports. The Bucs' top four receivers are pretty set, but Cameron Johnson is now part of a wide open competition going into training camp with nine other receivers, mostly young and inexperienced, battling for the last two or three jobs. It's definitely exciting, he said, but I'm focused, tunnel visioned on the playbook. You can't take any day for granted. You have to take advantage of your opportunities, show them what you can do to help this team. Here's the important part right here. Extremely athletic, Coach Todd Bowles said last week, talking about Johnson. He can catch and get upfield in a heartbeat. He's a very good pattern runner, and he has very good hands. It'll be nice to see him in pads, which coming from a guy like Coach Bowles, who keeps things pretty close to the chest, that's big time praise from a guy who went to a tiny D2 college, is now showing up in OTAs and impressing a lot of people. I think there's potentially the opportunity for a big time steal here from the Buccaneers. Mize, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. But first, Bucs fans in the comment section below, we're talking wide receivers. So in the comment section, give us your favorite Bucs wide receiver of all time. There's a couple really interesting options, but you can only pick one. Let us know in the comment section below. And while you're in the comment section below, make sure you check out in the description box a list of our highly recommended football books. That way you can be the smartest guy in the comment section. Check out a list, all of our links there of great football books for you to check out for you or another fan in your life. But Miles, give me your thoughts on this update here involving this young Bucs receiver.
Yeah, Nick, and a quick note, Father's Day is coming up, so football books might be a great gift for dad. But you talked about it, Nick, and I want to hit on something really quick before we go into Johnson. Talk about relatively unknown. Coming from Barton College, a college who has not played football since 1950, they have their inaugural season when Johnson comes over in 2020. Since 1950, that's when the program starts back up. So literally, he goes to a school who had never played football for, let's say, almost 70 years. Then he comes back, the program's reestablished, and he's that first class of guys that go into the NFL draft, makes his shot on a team as an undrafted free agent, and we're looking at him now. He's already impressing. So I think this is big time for Barton and big time from Cameron Johnson, showing that, the little guys can get noticed too. But it's like you said, this is a Bucs receiving core that is very established on the top end, but there's some openings down lower on the bottom end of this wide receiver roster. And I think that Johnson is a guy who really puts his nose to the grindstone. Like you said, he's tunnel vision on the playbook. He's taking every day as seriously as possible. And I think that is going to be the differentiator between him and some of these other guys. I think he's a very, very interesting prospect, a little bit undersized, but he is very talented as well. And when you go back, you hear some of his comments from his coaches in college. This is a guy who also potentially could contribute on special teams as well as a returner. He's very quick, very, very shifty as well. I think this is a great pickup for the Bucs. And I'm excited to finally, do we get to see a guy from Barton College make it into the NFL? That would be pretty exciting.
And, it's not uncommon, right? We do hear stories all the time about D2, sometimes D3 guys that kind of fall through the cracks of the draft evaluation process that go on to be significant playmakers in the NFL, right? Danny Woodhead, of course, for a number of years. Pierre Garçon, wide receiver, a long time in the NFL for the Indianapolis Colts in Washington, right? It is not uncommon for some of these guys to fall through the cracks and become really good players at the next level. And I think it's not just Todd Bowles saying good things about him. I think you look at overall corroborating evidence we talk about all the time. And according to that same Fox Sports article, Bucs director of player personnel Mike Beal had this to say about where he is right now. He's exceeded expectations. Again, talking about Johnson, you don't really know a whole lot about him coming in. Every time we get through a free agent class, the guys I haven't seen, I'll throw tape on. We had 2 games in our system, so I really couldn't watch a lot after the fact. Everything we saw was out here for the first time. Again, what that means there is that this was a shot in the dark. They're like, yeah, we think maybe he's worth bring him in, see what he can do. And he comes in and they're like, whoa, this guy can play football. This guy is a playmaker. He's a great athlete. He's got a lot of tools. And Chase Edmonds had this to say as well. He said G-O-N, make the team, reminds me of Randall Cobb. So again, we're seeing corroborating evidence. Todd Bowles, we're seeing director of player personnel, we're seeing Chase Edmonds saying stuff as well, right? We're talking about a guy here that no one has ever seen before, and he shows up to OTAs and is impressing a lot of people. If he can carry this momentum for when the pads come on through training camp and through preseason, it's not too early to say that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here may have gotten themselves the next kind of Victor Cruz kind of playmaker that fell through the cracks, right? There's a lot of similarities stylistically between Victor Cruz, formerly of the New York Giants a number of years ago, and what Johnson brings to the fold. And this is a Bucs team, like I said in the opening, that was already pretty good. So, right, you add one more good playmaker to the mix, and they can suddenly go from being pretty good to a real serious contender in the NFC, right? We look at a Bucs team that's sneaking up on people. I think they're going to be really good again this year. I think they're the favorite to win the division. But I think when they add the potential addition of more playmakers, steals in the undrafted free agent realm like this, the future just continues to be bright in Tampa.